everybody, this is Jonathan Matos from Graphically Christian.com. It's a place for great art by Christians, such as myself, but it's for everyone. And unfortunately, we haven't really gotten much up this week, and I kind of want to explain a little bit of why that is. Um, just there hasn't been, there's been a lot of errors in the videos that I've been trying to put out, and I don't know why, but the podcast and the Sunday School Doodles that I tried to finish this week just weren't working, and unfortunately that meant that I was behind schedule and really wasn't something that I was able to repair in time to get them up. So you'll have to do without the Sunday School Doodles this week, although I'll put the art up on Friday as a Fan Art Friday post. And I wanted to do today a comic book haul video because there is a library in my neighborhood, and I just finished reading these trade paperbacks, and I thought you might enjoy a little bit of thought about what these comic books were like. The first one I picked up was Shadow Hero. It's by Gene Luen Yang, who is I'm a big fan of. He won some awards for a semi-autobiographical graphic novel in his early career called American Born Chinese, and he's actually just got picked up for doing the new Superman, or he's the new writer for the Superman comic book, which I'm really excited to pick up because he is a very good writer, and a lot of his career is historically about his immigrant experience and being Chinese, and he really represents his culture. And as somebody who has an immigrant father, it was just really, I was able to identify with it right away, even though it's a different culture than mine. And this is no different. Shadow Hero is the story of the Green Turtle, and for those of you who don't know, the Green Turtle was actually a character in the 40s, written by Chu Heng, I believe his name was, and this artist actually had to hide the ethnicity of the hero. He wanted him to be Chinese, and even though Gene was not able to really nail down the entire story, he really thought that this character was supposed to represent this Chinese heritage of the artist, and since it never got to be represented in the comic, Gene Luen Yang decided, I'm going to write this, I'm going to do an origin story that is seeped in the Chinese culture, that is, that I see in the fringes of this comic. He really wanted that to be the centerpiece of it, and I really dug it. It's kind of like a throwback, and kind of like in the same era of the Shadow or the Phantom. So if you like those, maybe like the Rocketeer type thing, I think you'd really like this. And also, it's a very interesting read for those of you interested in, race relations and how cultural identity and how that figures into comics and just, our nation's background and that. So I really dug it, and you should really pick it up if you are into that kind of thing. Next up was something I've wanted to read for a while because it's by Scott Snyder, who did just an amazing run on Batman. As far as I know, it's still going on, and he even is doing another Batman book, Batman Eternal, and it's just, he's a great writer. He did the Court of Owls run, and Death of the Family, which brought back the Joker. Just an awesome Batman writer, and so when he did a Vertigo limited series, I decided I needed to read it eventually, and he also did it with Sean Murphy, who I believe he collaborated with on Chrononauts, if I'm getting that right, and he's just a really interesting artist, a really different, like a dynamic style that he has, and so the partnership really intrigued me. And so the comic itself is called The Wake, and at first I was kind of like, I thought it was going to be like Jaws, because it does have to do with kind of like the swamp-like creature you can see here on the front, um, like a swamp thing type creature, and it really surprised me because it really got into building a world around this antagonist that you meet in the first issue, and I really wasn't expecting it to go that direction. Um, Even though there are hints that this story spans like centuries, I thought it was going to be two, kind of small stories, that, but it's like it's something on the level of like Lord of the Rings, I guess you would say, just a really sprawling epic that has to do with mythology, um, like reaching back to like mermaid mythology and end of the world flood mythology, and I really dig that. And it really it's I would compare it somewhat to like a Christopher Nolan type movie, something that really conceptually, it like Interstellar, um, it has to do with uh, what we, the way we think, who we are as humans, and it tries to put that into like an action-oriented story, and it's really intelligent and creates really memorable characters. So I really dug that as well. The last graphic novel I got was the second volume of March. Um, if you don't know, it's written by or adapted from the life of John Lewis. I don't know if he did the comic book stripping or something, but he teamed up with Andrew Aiden and Nate Powell to create a account of basically his part in the civil rights movement. And for those of you who don't know John Lewis, he was a close friend, or at least he worked closely with Martin Luther King Jr. I believe if you watch the March on Washington video, you can see him like standing right next to Martin Luther King Jr. And so it's just a very powerful account, something that if you watch Soma or it's I mean I would compare the two just in terms of how gut-wrenching the violence is. I know the part I just finished reading, he's in a sit-in and the owner is trying to tell him to get out, and they're just not paying attention. They're trying to do this non-violent protest, and they start like fumigating the place, and if there weren't people there to help them, then they probably would have died. So it's just a bunch of accounts like that, and I guess in this volume, it's really more of a focus on the violence increasing and getting even worse, and so it's just a very, especially in this time of the civil rights movement coming full force again into the media, it's a very powerful account, and I think reminds me again what comic books can do, and just reminding us what it's like to be human and what the gospel, the social gospel in that case, really meant for people in the South looking for an answer to this just menacing society that they're have to deal with. So obviously, I support all this change and how the gospel can help people see have a radical hope in times like these, and this comic is a real beacon for that. So those were the three experiences I had from going to the library, just looking through the graphic novel section. I would suggest going to do that if you're a fan of comics. Some of the best of the past the past year might be available, and even if it's not at your library, you can just go on your library's website. I'm sure, just like mine, in my state of Pennsylvania, you can just look up what books are available and in the libraries near you, and if there's something available somewhere else, they'll just ship it to the library near you and you can pick it up. So just a little advice from a nerd like myself who really digs reading. So if I hope you enjoy this review. Again, apologies for not being able to get the podcast or the Sunday School Doodles up this week. And I just wanted to let you guys know that that was an error that happened with the videos themselves, and they're both kind of time-sensitive things. So hopefully I can get that art to you and a podcast up for you next week. But until then, this has been GraphicallyChristian.com's update for this week, and I hope you enjoy your summer. Thanks.